So it's Asvapati. We're following Asvapati. And this is what he sees. At once caught in an eternal vision sweep, he saw her pride and splendor of high-born zones and her regions crouching in the nether deeps. Above was a monarchy of unfallen self. Beneath was the gloomy trance of the abyss, an opposite pole or dim antipodes. There were vasts of the glory of life's absolutes. All laughed in a safe immortality and an eternal childhood of the soul before darkness came and pain and grief were born, where all could dare to be themselves and one, and wisdom played in sinless innocence with naked freedom in truth's happy sun. There were worlds of her laughter and dreadful irony. There were fields of her taste of toil and strife and tears. Her head lay on the breast of amorous death. Sleep imitated a while extinction's peace. The light of God, she has parted from his dark to test the savor of bare opposites. Here, mingling in man's heart, their tones and hues have woven his being's mutable design. His life, a forward rippling stream in time. His nature's constant, fixed mobility. His soul, a moving picture's changeful film. His cosmos chaos of personality. The grand creatrix, with her cryptic touch, has turned to pathos and power being's self-dream, made a passion play of its fathomless mystery. But here were worlds lifted halfway to heaven. The veil was there, but not the shadowy wall. In forms not too remote from human grasp, some passion of the inviolate purity broke through, a ray of the original bliss. Heaven's joys might have been earth's, if earth were pure. There could have reached our divinized sense and heart some natural felicity's bright extreme, some thrill of supernature's absolutes. All strengths could laugh and sport on earth's hard roads and never feel her cruel edge of pain. All love could play and nowhere nature's shame. But she has stabled her dreams in matter's courts, and still her doors are barred to things supreme. These worlds could feel God's breath visiting their tops. Some glimmer of the transcendence hem was there. Across the white ionic silences, immortal figures of embodied joy traversed wide spaces near to eternity's sleep.
It's empty in my box. Okay. At once, caught in an eternal vision sweep, he saw her pride and splendor, high-born thrones, and her regions crouching in the nether depths.
Yes. So at once, it means at the same time, in one glance, he can see everything. Because of this eternal vision, he can see everything all at once. This is King Aswapati. No? He can see her pride and splendor of high-born zones, the ones on the higher levels, and at the same time, he can see the lower regions of life crouching in the nether deeps, in the lower deeps. Yeah? Ganga Lakshmi?
Above was a monarchy of unfallen self. Beneath was a gloomy trance of the abyss, an opposite pole or dim antipodes.
Yes. So on those higher levels, there's a monarchy, a rule of unfallen self, the supreme self, not yet fallen. And far down in those nether deeps, beneath, was this dark, gloomy trance of the abyss, where nature is in an unconscious state, in the depths. That's an opposite pole, like we have a north pole and a south pole to our earth. There's those high-born zones, and there's the nether deeps. They are at the opposite pole. The antipodes are the part of the earth which is on the opposite place on the surface of the earth to where you are standing.
What's the meaning of antipody?
What?
What is the meaning of antipody?
Yes, but why podies? I'm not sure.
In Spanish, you use for anything that is the opposite. I don't know
The antipart, yes, that is okay. But what is this? What the antipodes? No. It's anyway the opposite. It's not the North Pole or the South Pole, but for England, Australia is the antipodes, the opposite place on the surface of the earth. But it must be from Greek, and I'm sorry, I don't know why it says podies.
Something like podium.
You can look it up in a dictionary, Kanyapan. Yeah? Maybe you have a dictionary on your smartphone. Martin.
The ever vast of the glory of life's absolute, all loved in a safe immortality, an eternal childhood, the soul, before darkness came, and pain and grief were born, where all who dare to be themselves and one, and wisdom played in sinless innocence, his naked freedom in truth's happy sun.
That's in these vast spaces of the glory of life's absolutes. It's absolute heights where everything is laughing. They're in this safe immortality There's no possibility of fall. There's this eternal childhood of the soul. That's the space before darkness came, before pain and grief were born. So all the beings there could dare just simply, spontaneously to be themselves, and they could all feel their oneness. No? And spontaneously, wisdom plays there in a state of innocence, completely free of sin. She plays with naked freedom. There's no coverings necessary. Freedom is the guarantee of perfection in this world which is lit by the happy sun of truth. That's at one extreme. And then at the next extreme, Amrita, you like to read?
Yes.
Yes.
There were walls of your laughter and grateful irony. There were fields of your taste, of toil and strife and peace. Your head lay on the breast of amorous death. Sleep imitated a wild instinction's peace.
So those vasts of glory are at one extreme, and then on another there are the levels of life's laughter and dreadful irony. Irony is a kind of mocking laughter. No? There are other levels where life enjoys the taste of toil, of hard effort, and strife and struggle and tears, where life is in love with death, amorous death, and sleep there is imitating, giving an imitation of the peace of extinction, of leaving existence altogether, of nirvana. Yes, Kanipa.
Antipodies is anti is opposite. POU, chapeau is that is feet.
Feet, yes.
So when you're standing, they are on the opposite.
Your feet are on the opposite.
That is POUDES.
But originally POU, that chapeau in French,
That
pouce, like POU.
But there's nothing of PODES.
But they would have cats found. They have Indo-European roots, like path.
anyway, we get the idea.
Yeah.
Opposite sides.
Opposite side.
But amour in French means love.
Love, yes.
But here in English it's normally connected to lust. Right? In English, normally you say amorous means it's not on pure love, as far as I understand. Is it that way? And amour is pure love in French.
But when we say amorous death, it's
not here.
life and death are in love with each other.
Here that's okay, but in general English.
I don't want to make that distinction.
It's complicated etymologically.
Because in different contexts it can be used differently. Slava, you would read?
Yes. The life of both, she has parted for she died. Death, the sever of bare opposites. Here mimicking in man's heart their tones and fears, has woven his beings mutable design. His life is somewhat slipping, stream in time. His nature's constant fixed mobility. He saw the moving pictures changeful field is cosmos house of destiny of personality.
Yes. So life, we read about it before, now Sri Aurobindo is telling us to it again, how life delights in opposites. And here in our world, she has parted, separated, made a clear distinction between the light of God and his dark sides. And she's done that to taste the savor, to test the savor. What does it taste like? These different flavors. Especially the savor of bare opposites, the contrasts. As a result of that, here in our world, in our material world, in our human world, the tones and hues of those different savors, those different tastes, are mingling, joining and mixing, and they have woven, it's the image of weaving cloth, threads going in different directions, no? And creating a design. They've created the changeable design of our humanity, our human being. So his life, that means our life, the life of the human being, is like a stream moving forward in time with ripples, little waves on it, catching the light in different ways. No? And Sri Aurobindo says this creates human nature's constant, fixed mobility. It's movable, but in a way it doesn't change, no? Because it's made up of these same mingling qualities. His soul, the human soul, especially the surface soul, is like a moving picture's changeful film. All these different scenes coming and going. All this makes up the cosmos chaos of human personality. So these are two opposite words, no? Cosmos means harmony, chaos means disorder, disharmony. These two qualities are mingling in the human personality.
But in the beginning, chaos means actually creation also, in the actual meaning of chaos.
Sorry, the word chaos. Are you sure? It's that disordered state before everything begins, before this.
Big Bang or whatever, chaos, original sense means creation.
Okay. And out of chaos emerges cosmos, order and beauty, actually, harmony and beauty.
Yes, in the last chapter, I believe it's the last chapter of the Life Divine, there were two, well actually one sentence, but if you put it in two parts, that really stood out and helped me. These two,
Can you tell us what they were?
Life evolves, or we'd say consciousness evolves through the greater order and perfection of life.
Yes, that's what evolution is. Life becoming more and more complex, but also more and more harmonious. But we don't experience it like that.
Here, the creation part, the infinity of space or formless matter, supposed to have preceded the creation of the universe.
Chaos, yes.
It's like abyss.
Okay, yes, thank you.
But generally here we refer to the opposite of systematic and order. Chaos.
Naren, you'll read.
The grand creatrix with her cryptic touch has turned to pathos and power being's self-dream, made a passion play of its fathomless mystery.
Yes. So the grand creatrix, the supreme conscious force who runs the universe, with her cryptic, here perhaps it means mysterious, difficult to understand, with her magic touch, has turned to pathos, to something that makes us feel sad or sympathetic, deep emotion, and power, being's self-dream. The whole universe, we can think, is the dream of the Supreme Self. But with this touch, the creatrix has turned it into this mixture of pathos and power. She has made a passion play of its fathomless mystery. A passion play, in the sense that we usually use the word, is a story, is a play, a drama that tells the story of the sufferings of Jesus before then his crucifixion. But here I think Sri Aurobindo uses the word in a more general way, passion of intense feeling, contrasting and mingling and mixing, the passion play of life, this fathomless mystery. We can't get to the bottom of it. So that is a general statement that he's made about what life does on the heights, on the depths, in our lives. And now there's a new paragraph starting. Do you like to read?
But here were walls lifted halfway to heaven. The veil was there, but not the shadowy wall, in forms not too remote from human grasp, some passion of the inviolate purity, brought through a ray of the original bliss.
What King Asvapati is seeing at this moment is these worlds that are halfway to heaven. They're not the extremely high ones, and they're not the low ones, but they are quite beautiful. There is some kind of veil, veiling the highest, but not the shadowy wall, not the shadowy wall of ignorance which brings about falsehood and evil. No? So in forms that are not too remote from our own grasp, some passion, some intensity of the original inviolate purity, that purity which without any stain or mark or impurity mingled with it, some intensity of that breaks through as if through clouds in those worlds, a ray of the original bliss, the bliss that created the worlds.
This is not the present human status.
No, it's what King Asvapati is seeing,
Halfway between these two.
These worlds of griefless life. Suresh.
Heaven's joy might have been theirs if earth were pure, that could have reached our divinest sense and heart. Some natural felicities great, extreme, some thrill of supernatural absolutely. All strength could love and sport on earth's hard roads, and never feel a cruel edge of pain. All love could play, and nowhere nature shame.
Yes. If earth were pure, why is earth not pure? Heaven's joys might have been earth's if earth were pure. But he's described to us how earth is a mixture of all the worlds and all the levels. No? But we could imagine that state, that we could have a divinized sense, not these crude material senses, physical senses that we have now, but a divinized sense that could feel the divinity in everything. We could know some natural felicities, bright, extreme, that wonderful delight and happiness, some thrill of supernature's absolutes, that nature which rules on the higher levels. And if it were like that, even here on earth's hard roads, all strengths, all the powers could laugh and play, no? And never feel the cruel edge of pain which earth gives us as it is. If it were like that, if earth were pure, all love could play freely and there would nowhere be any sense of shame and impurity. Why is it not like that? It's on the way, huh? As Alice.
But she has stabled her dreams in manners' courts, and still her doors are barred to things supreme. These worlds could feel God's breath visiting their tops. Some glimmer of transcendence hymn was there.
So earth can't be pure, couldn't be pure, because she has stabled her dreams as if they are horses. She's parked them in this land of these kingdoms of matter. So, since it's like that, it's what we read about in the previous canto, no? All this pure life force poured down, but when it came into matter, it had to start following the rules of matter, the rules of darkness and inertia and the unconsciousness. So, on earth, our doors are still barred to things supreme. But these worlds which Aswapati is seeing now, these worlds lifted halfway to heaven, they can feel God's breath on their higher levels. And some glimmer of the transcendence hem was there. The transcendent, the supreme being beyond all manifestation, beyond all the limitations. So there's some glimmer, some faint trace of the light of the hem, the lower part of the garment of the Supreme. There was something of that in those worlds.
I'm a bit confused with this 257 line. She is in earth or nature? Or
here it is earth. It is confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's talking about nature, then she's
it was talking about life and nature. Yes, but here in line 250 he said, if earth were pure. Yeah. Yes. So that's why Dr. Nadkarni used to say the three most difficult words in Savitri are he, she and it. You have to always be able to look and see. In this case, we were reading about she, about life, but here it is earth. Yeah. Kanyapan.
Across the wide ionic silences, immortal figures of embodied joy traversed wide spaces near to eternity's sleep. Pure mystic voices in beatitude's hush appeal to love's immaculate sweetnesses, calling his honey to touch, to thrill the worlds, his blissful hands to seize on nature's limbs, his sweet, intolerant might of union, to take all beings into his Saviour arms, drawing to his pity the rebel and the waif, to force on them the happiness they refuse.
The wide aeonic silences, the silences of huge, unlimited space and time. Asvapati sees immortal figures of embodied joy, bliss embodied, incarnated, traversing, crossing these wide spaces which are near to the borderline between the creation and the transcendent state. And he hears these voices, pure mystic voices, in that hush of beatitude, of pure bliss. He hears those voices appealing, calling to love, to divine love, the immaculate sweetnesses. This is pure love, calling love's honeyed touch. The very touch of him is sweet like honey, to thrill the worlds, calling to his blissful hands to seize hold on the limbs, on the body of nature, and his sweet, intolerant might of union, his power of union, which is so powerful it can't be resisted. It's intolerant. No, they're calling to him to take all beings in his Saviour arms, drawing to his pity the rebel and the waif. The rebels are those who revolt and turn away, and the waifs are the lost children who don't know how to be happy. No? They're calling to love, to embrace them and force them to be happy. Joel.
Chant 𝐼𝐸𝐬𝐿 to the unseen divine, a flaming rhapsody of white desire, lured an immortal music into the heart, and woke the slumbering ear of ecstasy. A purer, fierer sense had there its home, a burning urge no earthly limbs can hold. One drew a large, unburdened, spacious breath, and the heart sped from beat to rapturous beat.
Yes. A chant hymeneal, a marriage song, a wedding song to the unseen divine. A flaming rhapsody. It's a music that is very intense and passionate, of white desire. This is desire that is pure. It's luring, attracting an immortal music into the heart and waking up the ear of ecstasy, which has the sense of ecstatic hearing, which has been sleeping. No? That's what happens, or that's what Asvapati feels in these realms. He experiences that the senses there are much purer and fierier. Fire, of course, is also purifying, but I think it's the intensity of feeling. If you put your finger into the flame, it's very intense, no? a burning urge our earthly limbs can't possibly hold. So there in that realm, one breathes differently, much more deeply, a large, spacious breath, because there's nothing heavy weighing on you. It's unburdened. And as a result, the heart can beat very quickly from one delight to another.
Shraddhavan? And immortal music into the heart. Maybe this is the real sense of art.
Sorry?
When the heart listens to immortal
Yes.
music, Saint Singer 2:7.
Yes, I've got it. Lured an immortal music into the heart and woke up this slumbering ear of ecstasy. Yes.
The real sense.
Will you read? Yes.
The voice of time sang of the immortal's joy, an inspiration and a lyric cry. The moments came with ecstasy on their wings. Beauty unimaginable moved heaven bare, absolved from boundaries in the vast of dream. The cry of the birds of wonder called from the skies to the deathless people of the shores of light. Creation leaped straight from the hands of God. Marvel and rapture wandered in the waves. Only to be was a supreme delight. Life was a happy laughter of the soul, and joy was king with love for minister.
Thank you. The voice of time. It's as if time is singing, no? In those realms. Singing of the joy, the bliss of the immortal. And that song is like an inspiration and a lyric cry, musical, song-like cry. So all the moments are like birds coming with ecstasy on their wings. Beauty, unimaginable, moves there, heaven bare, naked, uncovered as in heaven. Absolved from boundaries in the vast of dream. There are no limitations anymore. And then this is just pure poetry, no? The cry of the birds of wonder called from the skies to the deathless people of the shores of light. There are beings living there in those worlds. Their creation is fresh and new, just leaping straight from the hands of God. Marvel, wonder and rapture, intense delight. They're just wandering in the ways. You meet them all the time. Only to be, just pure existence, was a supreme delight. Life was a happy laughter of the soul, and joy rules there. Joy is the king, and love is his chief minister who manages everything. So we'll stop there for today. At once caught in an eternal vision sweep, he saw her pride and splendor of high-born zones, and her regions crouching in the nether deeps. Above was a monarchy of unfallen self. Beneath was the gloomy trance of the abyss, an opposite pole or dim antipodes. There were vasts of the glory of life's absolutes. All laughed in a safe immortality and an eternal childhood of the soul before darkness came and pain and grief were born, where all could dare to be themselves and one, and wisdom played in sinless innocence with naked freedom in truth's happy sun. There were worlds of her laughter and dreadful irony. There were fields of her taste of toil and strife and tears. Her head lay on the breast of amorous death. Sleep imitated a while extinction's peace. The light of God she has parted from his dark to test the savour of bare opposites. Here, mingling in man's heart, their tones and hues have woven his being's mutable design. His life a forward rippling stream in time, his nature's constant fixed mobility, his soul a moving picture's changeful film, his cosmos chaos of personality. The grand creatrix with her cryptic touch has turned to pathos and power being's self-dream, made a passion play of its fathomless mystery. But here were worlds lifted halfway to heaven. The veil was there, but not the shadowy wall. In forms not too remote from human grasp, some passion of the inviolate purity broke through a ray of the original bliss. Heaven's joys might have been earth's if earth were pure. There could have reached our divinized sense and heart some natural felicities, bright, extreme, some thrill of supernature's absolutes. All strengths could laugh and sport on earth's hard roads and never feel her cruel edge of pain. All love could play and nowhere nature's shame. But she has stabled her dreams in matter's courts, and still her doors are barred to things supreme. These worlds could feel God's breath visiting their tops. Some glimmer of the transcendent's hem was there. Across the wide aeonic silences, immortal figures of embodied joy traversed wide spaces near to eternity's sleep. Pure mystic voices in beatitude's hush appeal to love's immaculate sweetnesses, calling his honeyed touch to thrill the worlds, his blissful hands to seize on nature's limbs, his sweet intolerant might of union to take all beings into his Saviour arms, drawing to his pity the rebel and the waif, to force on them the happiness they refuse. A chant hymeneal to the unseen divine, a flaming rhapsody of white desire, lured an immortal music into the heart, and woke the slumbering ear of ecstasy. A purer, fierier sense had there its home, a burning urge no earthly limbs can hold. One drew a large, unburdened, spacious breath, and the heart sped from beat to rapturous beat. The voice of time sang of the immortal's joy. An inspiration and a lyric cry, the moments came with ecstasy on their wings. Beauty unimaginable moved heaven bare, absolved from boundaries in the vasts of dream. The cry of the birds of wonder called from the skies to the deathless people of the shores of light. Creation leaped straight from the hands of God. Marvel and rapture wandered in the ways. Only to be was a supreme delight. Life was a happy laughter of the soul, and joy was king with love for minister.